All right, so one question I get asked a lot is about my tension tools that I use, and they're made out of pieces of bent music wire. Actually, I should have brought one out to show the end product, but basically, you're going to need some music wire to do this. You can start with something thick, like this is a 94 thousandths of an inch, but I find that when you're bending this, if you want to cold bend it, it can splinter more. And so there's two ways of doing this. I'm going to use 78 thousandths. I find this is a really good thickness for music wire. And you can either bend it cold, where you risk a chance of the metal splintering at the bends, but if you take it slow, it should be okay. Or you could do it hot, so you can use like a torch like this, and you can heat it up and you can bend it with some pliers, something that's really easy to bend at that point, and then you can quench it in like a cup of water or something like that to cool it down. The problem there is that the metal tends to get softer, bendier, so you weaken the metal some doing it that way. That's usually not an issue for what we're doing. But then you don't run the risk of splintering the metal. So here I took a piece. Generally, I like to do a lot of my forming before I cut the length that I need. It gives me more leverage to bend if I need to, and also after I do all the bends, if I cut it first, I might realize, hey, this is kind of shorter than I initially thought. So, like I said, you can do it hot or cold. You could do it with 2 pliers and bend it. It's pretty hard to get a short bend, so what you could do is do a little bit longer bend, and then you cut off the excess that you don't need. So if I just need a short little bit on the end, rather than trying to bend just this little end bit, just bend it a bit longer, so you can get grip on 2 sections, and then just cut off the excess off the end. So what rather than use a pair of pliers, I like to use a vise, and I'll just put the end in here. I'm not going to put a lot of it in here. So once it's in here, get it nice and tight in here. This might be a bit loud, so I'll try to mess with the audio levels. You're going to want to then bend it, right? And the first bend you're looking for is a 90-degree bend. So you can try bending it by hand, but at 78 thousandths, that's pretty thick. And you want to make it, you want to kind of take your time at it, so that you don't end up having it splinter or snap or anything like that. So just keep pushing on it and bend it slowly. You can give it a break. I'm just feeling it to see if it's getting hot from the bend, but it doesn't feel like it is. And you just keep going, keep going. And then get it down to about a 90-degree angle. If you wanted, you could take a mallet and or a hammer, right, and get it a little bit further. But that looks about right. I know. So we got it down to about a 90 degree. We'll go ahead and take it out of the vise. And there we go. We got a nice bend. It's probably a bit too long. We can shave that down or whatever. And then what I like to do before shaping the ends of it, I like to form both sides of this, cut it down, whatever I need to do before I shape anything. And that's because maybe I'll shape it all, spend all this time shaping it nice, and then I go to bend one of the other things and I get splintering. And then I'm like, oh, I'm going to throw this out and start over. So you want to kind of, imagine what it's going to be like in here. And how long do I want this? So I'm going to have it in there, right? And I'm going to push with my finger on the tensioner. So I don't really need it any longer than about here, right? So here's where I'm going to make my next bend, right about here. So I need a little bit extra. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this part and I'm going to put it in my vise at that point, right? And I like to bend it now the other way, away from here, right? So this is going this way. I'm going to bend that way. So I'm going to put this in my vise like this, tighten it down, try not to pinch my fingers, and line it up. Once I get it lined up, then tighten it. and I'll bend the other end. Same way I did the first. Pushing down, give it a rest. And my wife is calling me for food, so I'll probably finish this bend and then we'll pause the video and I'll come back and finish the other end so I don't incur the wrath of the wife. But keep going slowly at a time. Alright, that looks about right. You see that? Now, rather than take it out, I like it where it's at. You want to cut it off on this side. Let me just make sure that's as far as, yeah, that's as far as I want. You can use a Dremel with like a cutoff tool. You can get these cutoff wheels really cheap. I have a small one on there for some reason right now. So you can use that, and you can cut it off there. And we're gonna use this. We can use this Dremel also for shaping it in a minute. But if you don't have a Dremel, you can use a metal hacksaw blade like that, and just find. This section might be sped up, or I might just switch to the Dremel. I'll probably just switch to the Dremel. But you can do it. I've done it before with that, but I will go ahead and use the Dremel. So the problem with using the Dremel is you heat up the place you're cutting. You can see how it's changing color there. So I usually have a little water dropper on hand to cool it down as I'm working on it. But let's go ahead and finish cutting through this. Probably doesn't matter too much because it's at the end and I might actually shorten it. So. Alright, another thing, you probably want to use a fresh cutoff wheel. That wheel is really old. But there we go, I got the cut. And I want to let that cool down a second because it's probably pretty hot. Then what you want to do is you want to shape it. Do you want this to be, well, you can leave it like this, right, if you like a straight one. I like to have one that's bent at about 45-degree angle. So what I have to determine next is this going to be for turning the lock clockwise or counterclockwise. If it's for turning the lock clockwise, I like to make the bend go like that direction. If it's for turning counterclockwise, I like to make the bend the opposite direction. I like to have one of each because then I can stick two of them in here and use them. You might see in my videos, I have two of them on my fingers like this, and I can use it for float tensioning. But we'll be back for bending this and shaping the ends because I just called for a third time and I'm gonna get in trouble. Alright, I'll be back. So we're back after our meal, and the next step was to put the bend in it. So we'll go ahead and bring our vise back again. I want it to be about halfway down. I don't know, something like that, I guess. No precision needed, right? That looks like it's almost half. And now I don't have as much room to bend it with, right? So it might be a little bit harder. So I'm going to push it. And be careful, it's sharp here. Another thing I didn't mention when using the Dremel, use glasses of some sort, protect your eyes. This thing is spinning around at, what, crazy speeds, 10,000 RPM. If it breaks or throws something, it's going really, really fast. Really scary. Alright. This is where you might want to use a pair of pliers on here to give you a little bit more length. I'm just going to mess up my thumbs instead. Getting a bend. Oh, that's sharp there. If you don't have a Dremel, for the next step, you can use a set of files, right? So you get yourself, not a Pippin, just a file. It's kind of sharp right here, so I want it to just make it a little less sharp so that now I can grab it and pull on it. It's getting there. looks about good enough for me. So there we go. That's the tensioner you see. Now, it's a little bit lopsided. It's shorter on this side than this one, but whatever. The next step is you want to shape it. So it's got a sharp piece here. Now you could put it in a vise probably, and then just use your file to get the sides down to the right shape. You can use your Dremel, right? You can go and shape it down like that. But you want to get it down to just snug, right? Just where it fits snug. And one thing I've done for certain locks is that they got shaped warding there. I've actually shaped the tensioner to be the same shape as warding, so it fits in like a piece of a key, right? In any case, let's work on one side. One thing I like to do is on one side, I'll make the tensioner at a I'll make the tensioner in line with the shaft there. So I'll cut it like that, right? And on the other side, I'll do it at a 45-degree angle. So I'll do like this, okay? And the reason for that is then the one side I can use like this, straight up and down. And the other side, when I use it, it'll be like this. So I'll have two options. I can have it like that or like this. Here, the top of the keyway goes off at an angle, so if I put the top straight up and down one, it's probably going to be more like this. And if I put the 45-degree one, it might be more like this. Or you could even use the 45-degree one over here like this, right? So you get a lot of options if you put an angle in there. But let's go ahead and I'm going to use the Dremel, so this might be a bit loud. Okay, you want to measure often because remember you can always remove more material, but you can't add it back. So it's too thick still. Now, before I go too far, one thing of preference, when you're shaping this up here, let's zoom in more. Maybe take the. All right, when you're shaping this piece here, you have a little bit of a choice. I like to make the tip like this. So it's fatter on the tip here than it is further in. The reason for that is I feel that once I get in there, it's less likely to slip out while I'm picking. Other people are going to want to make it more like a V shape, right? They're going to want it thinner at the end than it is further on. And the reasoning for that is that you can then put the thinner tip in and you can jam it down until it goes deep enough where it's now wedged in there. And they like that because now there's not going to be any wiggle, right? It's going to be tight fit on a multitude of locks. Whereas mine, it might give it a little bit of wiggle, so it's not going to work for float picking with a single tensioner if you do it the way I like to do it. If you want to float pick with a single tensioner, you probably do want that wedge shape rather than the opposite backwards wedge shape that I use. Because when I float pick, I use two tensioners pretty much always. I don't think I have anything where I did a single tensioner float that wasn't sidebar assisted. All right, let's go ahead and make this a bit thinner. Test it again. See if that fits in there. Okay, so careful, it's hot. Oops. So that goes in there, like that. And we got a tensioner. Boom. And now you could shape the other side, just the same way I did this side. And you can, like, it's rough, so you can take your Dremel, shape it, or you can take your file, clean it up a little. You know, you kind of want sharp edges so they bite, so your tensioner doesn't come out. But you don't want it so bite. If it fits loose and you have a sharp edge, Now it's going to put dents into the side of your lock. So you can either, you can either round out the corners to reduce that, or just have a really snug tensioner that's not going to be applying pressure on a single point in the lock, right? If you can get it to apply across the entire face where it touches, you're going to reduce the damage. But that is a music wire tensioner. I'll put some stuff in the description for it, and hopefully that helps somebody. All right, thanks. Bye.